no, 90, it was 92. We had a breakout season. Let me go back. 1989, I think it was your freshman year, wasn't it?
My freshman year.
Freshman year, we played Whittier Christian, lost 72-0. And I wasn't coaching there then. And came back in 1990, started the program, and we played Whittier Christian. That was the year they were the state champions. We're 14-0, and we played them in a tough game. I think it ended up being 35-28, something like that. The next year, we played them again tough, lost to them, and I don't think we'd beaten them in
Since 85.
Yeah, like 85. It'd been about 7-8 years, and we came out and we had a great team coming back. They were all juniors. Ended up having 5 Division I kids on that team, and we're playing Whittier Christian. They were the big dogs, and we came out, scored first, and everybody's like, "We can do this." And then he comes out and pops off a 72-yard run on us, and usually that's the time when we would fold. And the kids fought back, and that was what started up and gave us back-to-back league championships. We went out and screwed up and lost a game to Calvary Chapel, and so they got to share the league title with us. But Aaron was the star running back, leading Orange County. I think he had, what, 28 touchdowns? It's something.
Yeah, something.
He had some wild number. It was Tom Caffrey over Whittier Christian running that double wing. And they, actually when Aaron played, having not seen, well no, but you guys ran that empty stuff too. They ran the single wing, they ran the double wing out of empty. If I can find my tapes, they would run trips, they would run empty. I mean, they ran some of the wildest stuff you've ever seen out of the double wing. And Aaron was a great running back. Went on to Chapman.
Yes.
Played at Chapman. Started off coaching over at Western Christian, I think, when we coached against you. And then went down to San Diego, coached 8-man. Now he's up at St. Michael's Prep. What is there, 75 kids in the school?
64.
64 kids in the school. And boarding school and 8-man football. And he's here to talk to you about the Wildcat, Hugh Wyatt's Wildcat formation for the 8-man football. Aaron Meschuk.
Well, the year that they did beat us in 92, that was a huge shock for us. Seeing that, it seemed like every year they got closer. I know my sophomore year when we beat them, when we had our state championship team, they had what was known as a Sweet 16, 16 players, and Brandon Stott was the quarterback, and Lakewood High School was a great game. But my senior year, we lost to them 12-7, and the next day we had a 5-hour padded practice at 7 a.m. Coach Caffrey was definitely not happy with us, but it was a great game. And again, the next year, you guys went to the finals. A little bit about, well, first of all, I want to thank Bruce for allowing me to come and speak. Also, I want to thank a couple of coaches that were influential in my life. Coach Ty Knott, right now he's the offensive quality control coach for the Green Bay Packers. Him and I coached together in college in Illinois. Coach Moore, who is now the defense coordinator at Northwestern College in Minnesota. And then, of course, my 2 head coaches, Coach Bravo and Coach Caffrey, for not only teaching me the game of football, but also for teaching me the game of life. High school, I went to Whittier Christian, Citrus College for a year, and then also Chapman University. My coaching background really has been diverse, from double wing in high school to the Colorado Stack Eye, running option power football at Chapman University, to being a GA, running the spread formation. So I've had a mixture of all different styles of offense, but I've always been intrigued with the single wing. When I watch the old black and white movies of Ronald Reagan and Get One for the Gipper, they would show the Hollywood version, and they would show the actual game clip of the single wing, and I've always been sort of fascinated, never really understanding the mechanics and how it works. But as the information technology age has come about, just being able to read up and attend these clinics has been very helpful. About St. Michael's Prep, we are a private Catholic boarding school. We are in some way sort of prestigious, so we have high standards. For us, for a new student to come in, they have to meet an academic requirement. If they don't, they're not accepted. And that, our students change overnight. I'm losing 5 players from last year's team that are not graduating. They can't afford it. It's $12,000 a year. So it's a lot of money. I'm also dealing with players in the case of Pop Warner. They're first-time players. Very little experience, if that. And for us, it was a transition period. I was taking over a program that went 1-7, that threw the ball probably 67 times a game. But there was no cohesiveness amongst the players. And for us, as a coaching staff, because it's just myself and one other coach, we felt that for us to be successful, we had to keep it very simple. And that's what we did. For us, we only average about 20 players on the team. So if you look at that, it's about 30% of the school, of the boys, are playing football. And they can range from different sizes. A little bit about the origins of the Wildcat would be Hugh White. Hugh White came up with the idea of the Wildcat. If you ever buy his video, Dynamics 3, he came up with the idea. And when I first saw it, was of course on his webpage, but it hit me about 3 o'clock in the morning when I was coaching still in San Diego. I woke up, thought about this offense and how I could transition from the 11-man Wildcat to an 8-man. And seeing that I get up at 3:30 every morning anyways, here I am working on this new Wildcat offense for 8-man. And it just needed a school to implement it, and St. Michael's opened up. A little bit about St. Michael's. Our coaching philosophy is very simple. About our program is we're going to honor God. We are a Catholic high school. I know sometimes Catholic high schools have a notion of not necessarily walking the walk, and for us, we're honoring God. I don't allow my players to cuss on the field. If they do, they're doing some type of up-downs or some type of sprints. We're going to play together as a family. That is something that I stress most importantly. I don't ever stress team. We're a family from start to finish. How we act, both in the class and on the field. Give it a go is our little saying that goes back 30-something years. And anybody that's a descendant of Coach Caffrey, that's a football coach now, uses give it a go. What you do in practice is what you do in the game. I honestly believe that, whether it be your stance, ball security, your tackling, we feel whatever you do, whether good or bad, it's going to show Friday afternoon. Never doubts himself or his teammates. I'm big on psychology. I'm not an expert on it, but I honestly believe that in any ounce of doubt, that player come 4th down and 1 will not get you that 1 yard. Always run on and off the field, involved in a substitution. It's an indication of poise. There's some people that don't want to ever come out of the game. Well, there's a reason I take you out of the game. Maybe because I want to talk to you. Don't take off your helmet and moan and complain. Just get off the field. Don't be a tough guy after the whistle, but show tremendous mental toughness every second the ball is in play. Snap to whistle. You're going to be the toughest player that you can be, all right, within the confines of the game. After the whistle's blown, I don't want you to talk to anybody. Just go back to your huddle, act with class. Always recognize your teammates for your own personal achievements. For me, this is more personal because I was a running back in college and in high school. This might not necessarily pertain to the offensive linemen, but for the running backs, I tell them point blank, you score a touchdown, you better find an offensive lineman and thank them, because you're not going to be in that end zone, all right, if you don't appreciate their hard work. Because they'll miss their block and you'll find yourself on your back real quick. If a teammate makes an error, encourage him, don't ride him. That's our job. I'm very vocal. I'm energetic. I love football. When I'm on the field, they know it's all about business. They're not allowed to just ridicule, because if I allow it to happen, then it basically takes away point number 2. It takes away that family atmosphere. So to me, I'm big on that. Remember that what you do on and off the field reflects on your teammates. You're being an example to your teammates, your parents, your school. That's really important, because when I sit down and talk with the players at individual conferences in my office, I'll remind them that they are an example to their parents. And that's the last thing you want to do is upset your parents. I know for me, that was the case. Make up your mind to beat every opponent that you play, team for team, man for man. And that's part of our philosophy and practice. We have a very intense practice from start to finish. It is physical. When we go live for 30 minutes on offense. It is hard football. We want to be as physical as possible. And that's what really brought some success this year, was the fact that the team before, the program before, wasn't as physical. And for us, we are going to be as physical as possible so that the practice is done. They're exhausted. You know, they might complain, oh, you might condition, too hard. Well, the reality is we only condition 10 minutes a day. All of our conditioning is in practice, whether it be drills, fundamentals, or going live, we are conditioning then. Number 12, never think about how tired you are. If you know that you have done a better job conditioning yourself than your opponent has, think about how tired he is. The beauty of our offense this year was it seemed like the third and fourth quarter, the teams that we were facing were becoming tired because it's just a machine, our offense. The same play, they know where we're going, but it's just a matter of continuously running the same play, and teams eventually wore down after a while. Always retain poise. That's part of acting with class. If somebody says something, just walk away. Be a better man. Try to teach them biblical principles on the field. Set, program, and individual goals and obtain it. If I'm a running back, hey, I want to run for 1,500 yards. I have no problem with that. But keep it within the confine of what we are trying to do as an offense. Act with class and act like a champion. The first part, I felt this year we did act like class. The last part, act like a champion. We were 30 minutes away from winning the school's first championship. So hopefully one day we can call ourselves a champion. Going into our this year, our season is pretty much the same. We're going to honor God. We're going to play together as a family. We want a 3.0 GPA. I think if we have it high academic standards, I think the players themselves will rise to the occasion. We want to, again, win the Express League Championship, and then, of course, win the CIF Championship. Very seldom do many people are able to win a CIF title. I was fortunate to be a part of the team that won the CIF Championship, but I'd love to see the players win one. Let's get on to offensive philosophies. Our offensive philosophy is we want to establish a run and force the defensive team to commit to stopping it. Whether it be putting more men in the box, that's fine. Our goal is we want to beat you at the point of attack. We want to have more blockers than you have defenders. We want then to throw, once the defense has committed to the run, we want to throw the ball down the field in the maximum protection scheme, exploiting one-on-one matchups in order to achieve a high completion rate and still attain a high yards per catch average. This year, we threw the ball a total of 15 times per game, 15 times the entire season in 9 games. Of that, we only had 1 touchdown. That completion, though, was for 35 yards. So we do love to run the football. In establishing the run, we want to utilize the counters as a means to control coverage, blitz, fronts, forcing the defense to run a more basic scheme. One thing, if you were to coach against me or recognize what I do, I am a big counter coach. I love running the counter after you have established the power. Our general goals and our game goals, each week we have something like this given to our players, a scouting report. Heading into the season, they'll receive this. We want to be the most physical offensive team in the Express League. And that goes back to how we practice. It is very physical. From the first step to the last step, we want to be as physical as possible. Fundamentals, fundamentals. Be the best blocking team in the Express League. More and more I realize that without a great offensive line, you're not going to go anywhere. And this year, we hope to look and improve on that. Be the best rushing team in the Express League. We have 3 running backs, actually 2 running backs and a quarterback. All 3 were made all-league. It's the first time in the school's history. That for us was a great accomplishment. Be a great red zone and short yardage team. For us, the short yardage is most important because it never seemed like we're in the red zone that much. But for short yardage, we want to get the 3 yards. For us, our philosophy is 5 yards in the cloud of dust. I will accept nothing less than 5 yards per play. That's our goal. Our game goals might vary, but for us offensively, we want to, again, honor God, play together as a family. Give it a go. Win. I mean, part of the game is to win. Have fewer turnovers than the opponent. And then, of course, rush for more yards than the opponent. The games in which we won, we rushed for more yards than the opponent. Likewise, we averaged about 65 rushing attempts a game. In our first 3 games, we rushed the ball 65 times. Our practice habits: be punctual. This is something I got from college when I was playing. The first step is always full speed. I tell the players that they have got to know the tempo of the drill. If it's one-on-one blocks, if it's team period, that it's full speed. Be in some type of game mode. Focus on a single target of concentration or improvement for each week. For us, we're limited. We have a set period of time, just like Coach Ford has at Army Navy Academy. Seeing that we are a boarding school, we have from 2:30 until 5 o'clock. So if you have a break before you practice, you need to be down there working on your steps, even though a coach might not be there. Work on those. Do it in practice, you'll do it in the game. If you're carrying the ball wrong, if you're not finishing your block, you're going to do it in the game. Knowledge and technique is gained through repetition. For me, that is huge. We put in 1 play a day during double days, and we will run that play 100 times, 50 to the right, 50 to the left, before we go on to the next play. So it does, for the players, it becomes just a repetition, 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 repetition. And when they think they're tired and they want to stop, we're going to run it for another 25 more plays. Make yourself personally responsible for your own development. As coaches, we coach on the run at our school. And if you feel that there are some things that we've talked about in the classroom that you can work on in the field, then do it. Be responsible and take that. And at the high school age, I feel that they're able to do that. And ultimately, 1% better each day. 1% better. That's something that we stress a lot. Our play calling. Our play calling is very different, or calling the play in the huddle. The quarterback will call the play in the following sequence: the play, the snap count, the play, the snap count, ready, break. We don't call formation left, we don't call formation right. The backs know by where we're going with the ball how to line up. And that again goes back to repetition. Just running the play over and over again. So in this case, the formation, the play number, the snap count will be said twice. The word ready allows the last chance for check for the information. So in this case, 44 power on set, 44 power on set, ready, break. They know that. They get up to the line. We make sure that they get up to the line within 15 seconds of after the whistle has blown. Okay, we want to get the ball off roughly about 20 seconds. From the snap, from the whistle to the snap is about 20 seconds. Our cadence is rhythmic count. It coordinates our simultaneous movement off the football. Abby Abby refers to the fact that our school is also a seminary school, but it's Abby Abby, hands go down, down set. The ball is pretty much snapped on down. Right after the end, it's snapped. The numbering systems, to the right and the left, the even number holes will be to the right, odd to the left. I do mine a little bit differently because it's taking part from a double wing. I go 0 right off the center's hip, right side, 2, 4, 6, and outside. And then on the left, it's 1, 3, 5, and 7. So it does have some of the double wing numbering system, just a little bit different. Our alignment for our offense is, of course, a 3-point stance. Some teach it. I know in Hugh Wyatt's, he likes to have his inside hand closest to the center with that foot back. I don't necessarily like that. I like to go foot to foot, even splits, since we do not reach block at all. In our system, there is no reach blocking. Everything is head up to inside down, and I'll explain that in a minute. We are foot to foot, and we want to reduce the space given to the defensive line. Okay, we want to try to take away all the gaps as possible. So we are very tight in our alignment. Our quarterback and fullback are aligned 2.5 to 3 yards from the line of scrimmage. Their inside foot is basically splitting the center backside. And they will be foot to foot. The stance should be like a shortstop. If you ever see a shortstop player, his hands are down, his knees are bent. I don't think our quarterback or fullback realize how many squats they did during the season, but they are squatted very low, their hands are out like a shortstop. Our wingback will be aligned 1 by 1 from the outside hip of the tight end. 3-point stance, sort of like the tilted that you would see in a Don Markham style offense, and they'll be slanted towards the tight end. The key is this: some people say, well, how do you line your wingback and your quarterback and know what side to go with? The wingback will always align to the side of the quarterback, and that's how we do it. He knows that if he sees the quarterback and him will always be aligned on the same side together. The defensive techniques that we look at and we ask the players to recognize, we also, I forgot to put up our letters, gaps A, B, and C, and D. But we look at 0 as head up, a 1 is an inside technique on a guard, a 2 is a head up, a 3 is an outside shade, a 4 I is inside our tight end, 4 is head up, and 5 is outside our tight end. And then 6, of course, it'd be 1 gap out. And we do face some teams that run an odd front more than an even front once they've adjusted. And again, those are our techniques. Any questions? The difference between 11 and 8-man Wildcat is very simple. We're removing another wingback and 2 linemen. So instead of having our tackles, they are replaced, and now our tight ends, and we have 1 wingback. That's the difference between it. What's unique about this offense for us as a philosophy is if a team decides to play heavy to the side of the wingback, we will run power and force them to play even. If they want to play strength away from the wingback, we will run counter back with either the fullback or the quarterback. And once we feel that they are finally playing even, and what we do is we just draw a line down the center, 4-on-4, we will run the inside counter, which is a big play of ours, that our 44 and 45 counter. But you can run this out of the 11-man. Some suggestions I would make would use the fullback as another blocker, because I'm a big guard and tight end, pull and trap and look up inside. I would use the fullback as an extra blocker if you would want to make those types of adjustments. Why we use the counters? First of all, to confuse the defense. When we first ran this offense in our scrimmage, we scored only 7 points, and I think it was a gift. And I think the players themselves realized that this offense might not work. But when we actually got it into the first game, they realized the potential for this offense when we beat a team that had scored over 50 points against us the year before, and we beat them at their place pretty good. So we want to confuse the defense. Make the defense run a more basic scheme. And enforce the defense to run a balanced set. Right here, this play is our bread and butter, our 44 and 45 power. This would be 44 power. Some might ask, well, who gets the ball or where's the ball snapped to? We make it very simple for our center, and that is a 1 and a 4, the ball is being snapped to our quarterback. A 3, it's snapped to our fullback. It has the elements of the double wing blocking, but I've changed it as I began my coaching career and looking at line. We use a principle called head or head up to inside down. Some might call it gap bound down. For us, if I'm the tight end, I have to look at my principles. I know that we're running 44 power, 4 outside. Is there anybody head up on me? There's not. Is there anybody inside of me? The answer is yes, so let's take him down. We will use that philosophy for all play side blocks. For the center, though, it's different. Any time that a guard has to pull and trap or leave his space, we tell the center, you have to cover for him, even though he might be covered on a zero technique. We don't face any double eagle where you actually have a stack over your guards, but if so, we would still have our guard block, our center block away, and the play side guard still block the nose guard in the case of 44 and 45 power. So when we run our powers, and in some cases we average about 30 power runs per game, we will then come back and hit them with our 2 counters off that type of play action. That being the 35 and 34 counter, 14 and 45, 15 counter, sorry. Our tailback counter will be off our sweeps. Again, I'm not a big sweep fan. I'm not much for reaching, but we do throw it in just to mix it up here and there. But it opens up, especially for a linebacker who likes to fast read, to come back inside. You'll find out real quick that the safeties, especially if they're playing 2 safeties man for man over the tight end, you catch them looking into the backfield, watching the backs instead of watching their line in. Their tight ends. Because if a tight end blocks down, they're supposed to fill, but in some cases they don't. They start reading hats, and they start reading the wing backs, and before you know it, you have created a system in which you are outnumbering them at the point of attack. Any questions?
Yeah.
Yes?
On your center has his head up.
Head up.
And what type of block does he do? Does he crab down?
Last year we didn't teach it. This year we're going to teach it. After watching Hugh Wyatt last week, we are convinced that we're going to have him scramble block. We're going to go at the knees and just bear crawl it every play from now on.
Okay, so he is going. That's his type of block to cover for that the guard, whether he's pulling right or left. Mm-hmm. He's going to crab block across.
Yes, he's going to take it. He's going to take a 22-degree angle and go to where he's going to be. And basically, we are asking him to attack the outside knee, the farthest knee.
And being that you're so tight, that shouldn't be a problem.
No.
Okay, cool.
Let's go to the plays, and then what I'll do is after the plays, we will watch them film. Although they are split, they should be foot to foot. We're looking at the 14 counter now. Establishing the power. So in this case, we're running 45 power. I'll draw up against an even and an odd front. So, we're going to block down, play side gap, head up to inside down. Since the center has a zero technique, the guard will come down on him and block him, covering for him. The center will block backside, try to cut the 3 technique. The guard will then pull and trap with his head inside the hole, forcing him out on the 5 technique. The tight end will pull and find first colored jersey that he comes in within the hole. Our fullback will block off end, giving the idea that it would be a 45 power. Our quarterback will take the snap and reverse pivot so his back is to the line of scrimmage and hand off the ball. There is no motion. Once the ball is snapped, the wingback will take the ball, and this is important also, that they have got to understand how their hands are. If I'm running 45 power, my right arm is up. My left arm is down. If I'm running 45 counter, left arm is up, right arm is down. And we stress this again going back to our double dates. Once he has the ball, he will then plant and attack the line of scrimmage. The quarterback will then, after the fake, will then attack and follow the play side tight end or the pulling tight end into the hole. It is not a big home run play for us. We average roughly maybe about 7 to 8 yards per play on this, but the beauty about this is it's positive yardage. It's more than 5 yards that we're asking for. And again, it's a mixture. It keeps the defense honest. For 15 counter, we'll draw it up against an even front. Now, the blocking rules will change a little bit. He has a head-up call, so he will attack. His first step will be with his left foot to try to wall him in. If we feel that he is a problem, we will use the principles of the double wing and we will double down to backer. We will cut backside. Pull and look up in. After the fake, he will then attack the 5-hole. Put on a tape real quick and...
Hey, Coach, real
Yes.
quick, your quarterback or whoever's receiving the direct snap, is he spinning away from the wingback? You know what I'm saying? In other words, the way you got it drawn up right now.
That's the same way. He'd open up this way.
Right.
So here's the wingback. So he's open up this way because everything is off the 44 and 45 power action.
Right, okay.
Let me find the off button. If you want me to stop it, just let me know. We'll stop it real quick. Those are both 14 powers. 14 counters.
That against pricing?
No, that's against Discovery Prep. Very big and physical. Had some success against them. The one thing that, as I told the players as they were watching it, they were all excited. The one thing we weren't impressed about was the fact that we're not on the blocks long enough. And that's something that we're going to implement this year is Coach Wyatt's 12 steps after contact. Of course, 74, our biggest guy, we're going to miss him next year. Did a really good job for us this year. Again, it's a play that, 5 to 6 yards. He's a quarterback that last year rarely even played. Kept it very simple. Off the power, action. Again, for us, we're not sustaining our blocks long enough, and I'll mention some of that at the end. But he is tough. One game he actually went home in an ambulance to only return on Monday in full pads. So he's a tough kid, great leader. Coach Ford, Southlands.
That was east side.
That was east side.
Southlands, right?
This is Southlands.
Yeah.
Again, trying to get more people at a point of attack, make them defend.
Coach, what city are you from?
El Toro,
Air Force Base.
pretty much. Cook's Corner.
That's where your school is?
Yeah, it's right in front of Cook's Corner, up in the hills.
So you have to play with Whittier. Whittier Christian?
No, I played at Whittier Christian.
Oh, okay.
They're 8 men, Whittier's 11 men.
Oh, okay.
What's the one in Fullerton called?
East side.
East side, the one closest to you guys.
Yeah, okay.
When we usually call this play, we don't call it that often. I think this year we called the total about 30 times. We called some type of 14 or 15 counter. So it's not a play that I usually go to a lot. Our next player is the 34 and 35 counter. Again, everything goes off our base play, and that is our 44 and 45 power. In this case, we'll go 34 counter against an even front, but a goal line, which we faced against Discovery Prep towards the end of the game. Their principles, of course, play side, head up to inside down. Since they're gap players, everybody is down. The fullback will then take the ball. It's a timing issue. I tell the fullback to take a step, maybe even a little false step, because if he doesn't take the false step, there are times that he's actually behind the guard but in front of the tight end on the blocking. So he's getting ahead of his blocker. By taking some type of false step, it times up perfectly. He did it sometimes during the game, and other times he's so anxious because he's finally getting the ball after blocking 10 consecutive plays that he doesn't wait and it doesn't time up. The action of the tailback, again, mirrors the 44 or the 45 power. Selling the power, again, forcing usually this tight end to flow across, which again, it makes it easier for us to block. 35 counter would be off of 44 power. We'll draw it up against an even front. An odd front. But they're playing gaps with the free safety. The one challenge when teams did stop us was these guys, instead of reading, would automatically flow to the two gaps, either to the C gap or even to the D gap. In this case, our blocking principles, since the nose is covered, he has got to block him. Cut back side, block down, force the end. We want to push the defensive end to the linebacker. We sell the 44 power. We'll pull and trap and go a hole wider and look up inside. More than likely, the tight end will block this linebacker. If the play fake is good enough, this free safety half the time will flow anticipating 44 power. So again, we have now evened 2-on-2 with regards to our blocking. Our fullback will take a false step once he receives the ball and right up inside. It's equivalent to if you've run double wing of just your regular inside trap. but we're just taking it a hole wider and we're adding one more offensive blocker to the play.
Coach, you had no problem with your backside pursuit on the defensive end crashing down on you?
Well, if the backside pursuit is coming, are you talking
The defensive end? Or
Right here?
linebacker or whatever we got, yeah.
usually what we'll do
As
is,
far as him following your
Our fullback?
tackle.
no, because hopefully we want that defensive end to tackle our wingback, and usually that happens. If on our powers, if he is reading and he's following, all we do is we keep it. We just call 44 power I keep, and we just do a naked bootleg, which will then hold the defensive end. He's never played football before, so this is his first year. So you see, like even number 6, he's reading the wingback. And that's because we're trying to establish our power. And he's a junior, so I'm excited for next year.
Saw a couple priests going crazy in the background there.
Oh yeah, they're excited. They're excited this year.
Wow, they fight hard. Yeah, they do.
We try to really stress the fakes a lot in practice. And it's pretty good when you got a big line, but both 66 and 74 are graduating. So is 48 and 98 are tied in. He's from Ohio. Financial aid is not working out, so he's going back to Ohio. So I'm pretty much losing my entire offensive line next year.
You have people to replace him?
They're in the weight room. They've been in the weight room since we lost our playoff game. But these are good kids. They just want to play football. Hard nose.
That's a tough run.
You see number 11.
Yeah.
Tackle his wing back.
Yeah.
He let up and go in. He ran the ball.
The one thing I did talk about, he's running too high. I would like to get his shoulders lower. That's something that when we sat down and broke down film and really talked about, his shoulder pads, his level's too high. He runs too vertical. But for first year, I can't complain too much. See, taking a case of number 11, he was looking totally different, and that's the difference that allowed us to score on this play. Bruce. 44 and 45 counter. When we implement our plays, our first play we always implement ours is a 44 and 45 power. Then we go to 34 and 35 and 34 counter. And then the next play we will implement is our 44 and 45 counter, which I love. This is probably the play that I like to call the most. Although when I was breaking down one game tape to do this, against Southlands Christian. We only ran this play 4 times, but we ran our 44 and 45 power, number 88. You'll see in the film. He ran 34, 44 or 45 powers, and only 2 counters. So, but this is a big play for us. It's a little bit different. On this, we're asking. Let me draw a defense. We're going to go with the 3-4, but the ends are wide. Although he is head up, he is the person that we are looking to trap. If the end was playing inside of him, we would just block down on him. But since he's head up, and that's the man we want to trap, we're going to ask our tight end to release and go to play side backer. And in this case, it's going to work because this play side linebacker is going to read the fullback. And the minute the fullback goes to the left, he's going to start flowing, which allows the tight end to easily block him. The guard will block the nose. The center will look backside. Pull and trap. And kick out. Our quarterback will reverse pivot and fake the handoff to the fullback like we're running 37 sweep. But in 37 sweep, the ball snaps to the fullback. And the quarterback has the appearance of handing the ball off. I didn't realize this, but jab steps are important in counter games. The tailback or the wingback will take a slight jab step. Come underneath, follow the pulling tight end into the hole. Our quarterback will reverse pivot and has an inside handoff. We tell our quarterback to stay low, and for the wingback, in this case, where he's used to taking a 44 power with his left arm up, he's going to have his right arm up now. Always making sure that the bread, as I call it, the bread basket is open. So this is 44 counter. On 45 counter, the 2 inside techniques. The deep free safety. If he can't get to this linebacker, he will then scrape off to that linebacker. Pull and trap. Lead up inside. Now our quarterback got the idea of once handing the ball off to then follow and then become a third blocker, which I didn't call for that in the play, but halfway through the season, before you know, I'm seeing my quarterback and running back or wingback going down the field together. It adds one extra blocker to the point of attack. Again, jab steps are important. He's got to take a jab step. If he doesn't take a jab step, it doesn't time up. 45 counter.
Aaron, notice to me it looks like all 3 counter plays are blocked the same.
They're all blocked the same because it makes it easy for the offensive lineman. Nothing changes with our line blocking. The first 2 clips are touchdowns, and those are the first 2 times we ran the counters. Against Maricopa up in Bakersfield. It was our first time implementing this offense in the game.
Gotta love counting for any single one team.
Well, he's a freshman.
I know, it happens everywhere.
when you got limited budget, you gotta take your person that's injured and make him camera. There's a good one coming up where he's coming to the 4 side.
These guys on the sideline are fast, you gotta get them.
Oh, they've already graduated.
No.
This guy, 88, last year was an offensive lineman. So he's never ran the ball before. A side note, in this game he breaks his collarbone. We don't find out until after the season's done when he sprains his ankle in our playoff game that he'd been playing with a broken collarbone and not coming off the field. So he is tough. Again, we teach running back fundamentals. If you see somebody you want to attack their inside shoulder, looking for a cutback, you take 50, reading sweep. Our biggest thing we need to improve on is staying on our blocks. We didn't do a good job this year. And that's what happens, number 48, when he stands up, taking on a block, he gets knocked down. But he's probably better down blocker than he is setting up and lead blocking. And the beauty of this is you got 3 looks pretty much off of really one play. Not the fastest, that's for sure. Although I'm leaving gaps, we're foot to foot. 44 power. We want to get more people at the point of attack than they have to defend. We'll draw it up. We see a lot of odd fronts. And our philosophy is this: when you break it down, the middle, they have 3 defenders. So right now we're outnumbered 2 to 3. When we block down, it's now 3 on 3, 4 on 3, 5 on 3. Our guard will pull up and look inside, just like if you talk to any double wing teams. Our tight end, their tackle seems to always look inside with the quarterback looking out. In this case, our quarterback is reverse pivoting and handing off. The beauty of this is if the end is chasing, all we do is we can just tag it, 44 power, I keep, and it's just a naked bootleg. Our very first touchdown was on that counter in the game. We came back and ran 45 power, I keep. Faked the power, turned around, and was successful in the 2-point conversions. Against an even front, 44 power. We would double team the backer. We'd cut the 2 technique. Kick out. We tell our fullback to aim to the inside hip of the tight end, and you want to kick him out, banana block. At first, when you see on the tape, he doesn't do a good job. He's more pushing, but towards the later end of the season, he starts to develop better techniques. The guard will pull, look up inside, tight end will pull, look up the field, reverse pivot, handoff. If you were to do this in 11-man, block the nose, down, slip and release. Kick out, pull, look up inside, pull and look up the field. There is one problem that I did recognize like this. In a double wing, the quarterback who's under center would block the second defender outside. So it sort of leaves him unblocked on certain defenses. You can change your blocking scheme, reverse pivot. And that'd be against 11-man. If I was going to run a counter, let's say we're going to run 44 counter. My fullback is here. I'd fake to this wing back. I'd use the fullback, take a jab step to block second defender outside. And I got some power clips to show you. I don't like what the fullback did. He should be finishing his block. He's just pushing them. It's not what we teach. And the one thing about this is once you get past that first line,
It just bounces and goes.
and we're running this continuously. So in a series of 10, let's say 10 plays, we would probably have ran this about 7 times. Maybe throw in 1 wedge and 1 counter.
But your backs look well disciplined. As soon as they get to that second line of defense, it seems like the majority of times they're bouncing, getting that, even if they get caught, they still get that extra 5 or 7 yards.
Right. And that's something
They're
that,
bouncing, like right there, he just bounced out well. He still got another 10, 12 yards out of it.
don't like the technique on our tight end on that one.
Your center, he's just flicking the ball back, it's not a spiral back, like
No,
a
it's
pass back?
how Hugh White teaches it. Thumbs together on the tip of the ball, just flinging it back.
It looks like your backs are about, what, 2.5 yards back?
2.5 yards. And try to get as low as possible.
problems with the snaps or anything?
At first we did. It just took a lot of timing. And one thing that we do during our splits, I tell my O-line coach, is that anytime the center is in a drill, he's snapping the ball. That's one thing I learned at a clinic a couple of years ago, to get them in the frame of mind of constantly just snapping the ball, even if it's only in a drill. Our accomplishments, 350 points in the game. That's beating the previous record by 25. That team was a passing team. 38.8 is the school record. I can't say enough, the kids, those young men worked really hard. 72 points in one game. That was a big accomplishment against a team that had beaten us the year before by 20 and had really pretty much demoralized. Plus, it was their homecoming. So I know they're going to. Yes, I know they'll be looking for revenge. 9 touchdowns in the game. That's not our school record, but the 9 for 9 2-point conversions is. In that game, it gave us the 72 points. On an average this season, we were about 60% on 2-point conversions. I do not go for field goals. Even if we did have field goals, I don't. And over 2,400 yards rushing, and that's a school record. If you have any questions, feel free to email me. Again, I feel this offense can work even if you do adapt it to the 11-man level. For us at 8-man, it's been successful. I know it caught a lot of people off guard, especially never having faced a balanced front. Yes?
Back in your snap, since you're in a Wildcat set, the center just snaps to the middle and whoever's getting it takes it?
Yes.
Okay.
He has some idea of exactly where the play's going because he knows he's got a block away.
Right.
But he knows, for the most part, where the ball needs to go.
All right, Aaron Meschuk. Okay, we're going to come back at 2, so you got an hour and 15. Let me give you a map here. Hit that light real quick.